why does polygamy matter to you? Why is it even of interest?
I was I was born in a community where I noticed that there is a lot of polygamy,
Mhm.
and me myself, I'm from a polygamous family because my father got married to two women.
Okay.
So I studied the institution of marriage in the university. I did the institution and I studied a little on polygamy. So it is something of much interest to me because even though in several countries apart from Africa who have illegalized polygamy, we still have people who still marry one or two or more. That's the reality.
Yes.
So it is something that we cannot run away from. It's either we look at it again, whether it's acceptable or not. We have to look at the pros and the cons, and whether there is something we can do about it. Then it is part of us.
It is part of us. Okay.
It's part of yeah.
And you are Ghanaian and you live in Ghana and you were raised in Ghana. Is that correct?
Very correct.
Okay. We'll jump right into it. Since you started down the road a little bit. What are the pros and the cons to polygamy? You could pick which one you want to start with, the pros or the cons.
Okay, what I want to talk about polygamy. First of all, we know the Bible, Christianity itself does not accept polygamy in a way when you read the New Testament. And a lot of pastors, preachers speaks against polygamy. But in any case, if you go into the Bible itself, there are instances where prophets that we know were polygamous. So if I'm coming from the religious point of view, I can say that I know Moses had two wives. I know Abijah married 14 wives. I know King Solomon have 700 wives. David had 8 wives in the Old Testament. So then, polygamy is something that we can say is from Adam.
Okay.
It has there before this modern society came into being. Now, I want to delve into some legal aspects when it comes to polygamy. So, for example, in Ghana, we have different types of marriages. So, for example, we have the customary law, that is Article 11 of the 1992 Constitution, which
Oh, so
has
you're
a
serious with it. You know the articles of the laws and okay, all right. And you know the
yeah,
Bible. And quick question. Are you Christian?
I'm a Christian.
Okay. All right. So the Christianity piece does play a part in your life, your perspective, your religion, your family.
Yeah, Christianity plays part in my family and everything that I do. I'm a Christian.
Okay.
I'm a born Christian and I go to church and I do everything as a Christian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And as you were saying about the articles, the law.
Yeah. First of all, the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, Article 17, guarantees the freedom of rights and liberties. Every human being, you can marry, you can do whatever you want to do. That is what the Constitution has guaranteed to every citizen of this country. Then, if you come to marriage itself in Ghana, we have the customary law marriage. And we have the marriage of the Mohammedans, that is the Islamic marriage. Then from there, the last one is what we all know is the Christian marriage. That is where we all know as one man is to one wife.
Mm-hmm.
But in all this, when you come to the customary law marriage under customary law in Ghana is almost polygamous. The reason is that a man can decide to marry as many as he can in Ghana, provided he does the traditional marriage.
Okay.
So I can decide to marry 10 women in Ghana if I have the money to take care of them and to take care of my children. There is no law that is buying me from getting married to these women. So under, like I said, the constitution itself accepts customary law in Ghana, and the customary law in our constitution covers every community and the type of tradition and customs that they have in terms of marriage. Then, when we talk about the Christian marriage that we all know, even under the Islamic marriage in Ghana, there is a law that allows Muslims in Ghana to marry up to 4 wives. And it is legal, backed by the law.
Okay.
It is only when you do the Christian marriage that you cannot marry again under the law.
All right.
So, for example, if I go to court and I marry as a Christian, and I go to the church and they bless my marriage and I sign, I cannot go back to do another woman in the same manner. But even with that, you can do the traditional marriage of another woman.
And would you describe what a traditional marriage is? Okay, so it's not the Christian, and it's not presumably it's not the Islamic. How do you describe a traditional marriage?
Let me give you a background from the polygamous aspect of marriage in Africa, and
okay,
especially Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
In the olden days, the institution of marriage in Ghana or Africa is usually based on your status. And when I say status, people are respected based on the number of wives and children they have. And it is believed that the man who have more wives is worthier than those who don't have a lot of wives.
Now,
Why is it so?
Is that traditionally, meaning that's no longer the case, or that's still the case today?
Some part of Africa is still the case.
Okay.
Some part, because, for example, in the farming community, if I have 1 wife and 3 children, and I'm going to farm, we are 4, maybe we will be able to weed a half an acre on a day or in a day. If my other brother is married to 4 wives and they all have three children, if you add up the 4 plus the 3, that is about in normal we get about 14 people going to the farm to farm.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, which of the families is going to cultivate more foodstuffs?
Understood.
That is it. So the larger the family, the more cultivation they make, and the more money and the more richer they become than those who don't have large families. 2.
Now some may argue, okay, you have 14 people to work, but you also now you have to feed 14 people. You have to have the resources to take care of those 14 people also. So is there really is there really increased wealth, or is it an increased wealth and increased kind of expenses also?
It is the same thing. So at the end of the day, those who have smaller families will also feed. They need only small amount of food to feed. But at the end of the day, the amount of food you will have at home can still feed, and you still have more to sell and to make more money. No matter how, you cannot consume all the food that you cultivate. So there is also the aspect of some tradition where it is believed that in those days, it's a taboo for a woman who is in a time of menses or menstruation or period to do anything for the husband.
Mm-hmm.
It is highly unacceptable. So When it is that time, that woman cannot cook, she cannot do anything for the husband. So in that case, men are forced to get second wives or third wives, so that at the time one particular wife is in that time, the other wife can do certain things for the man.
Okay.
So these are some of the background to how Africans became more polygamous, and they believe there is nothing wrong with that. So, question.
And now, do you agree there's nothing wrong with that? And mind you, I think we should cover that my bias from the beginning, just as an interviewer. I am all for polygamy. I'm all for strong families. I just want to see it be successful. I want to see it work. That's my bias. Okay, so when I ask, do you believe that it's okay?
If you ask me, I don't see anything wrong with polygamy.
Okay.
Because if you look at population in this world, for example, in Ghana, the population of women is a bit higher than men. So if you are calculating, every man is supposed to have 3 or 4 wives before every woman can get a husband. And in this part of the world, where we judge people, we respect people based on their status. If you're a woman and you don't have a husband, nobody respects you. Mm-hmm. So then, if every man is to one wife, what happens to the rest of the women?
Yes.
How do they get married? How do they satisfy themselves? Are we going to push them into some kind of lifestyles because we are making polygamy an illegal act? What happens to the other women? Mm-hmm. So I don't see anything wrong with polygamy. I don't want to delve into certain legalized activities that even in Africa we see as taboo. But when you go to the Western world, they have legalized them. They said they are human rights. We should give them the right to live. For example, the LGBTQ and also everything. We have accepted that they are human beings. That's the kind of life they want to live. And this is what the Western world is advocating for. Then what is wrong with polygamy? Mm-hmm. Comparing polygamy with LGBTQ, which one should we legalize? So if you ask my opinion, I don't see anything wrong with polygamy, provided that the man is capable of taking care of the wives in the same manner without causing any harm or damage to any of them. If the man is capable of taking care of the kids, taking them to school, providing their needs equally, and doing everything as a husband, I don't see anything wrong with polygamy, even though I'm a Christian.
Is there anything else you want to add to that?
In terms of
what's right about polygamy?
I think, apart from that, it enhances cooperation between individual families. That's integration. Mm-hmm. So, for example, we know how families are being run outside Africa, where people believe their family is only him, the wife, and the child. Ours in Africa extends further than that because of the extended family system. So we associate with people. We want to live our life with people. A lot of people in the house. We eat together, chat together, share your problems with people. Because, for example, there is one belief that if you have one spouse and you have 3 children, and unfortunately the woman dies today, which woman is taking care of the other children? Perhaps then you need to go and find another wife or what? Mm-hmm. So one school of thought also believes that if you have 2 wives and one dies, at least the other wife will take care of the children till they grow. So they believe that polygamy in other ways also helping in taking care of children who are left by death of spouses.
As a quick,
okay, come, you can ask the question.
Just as a quick aside, there's also there are customs in places where if the man dies, his brother takes his family and takes care of his family. Does that resonate? Do you know of that? Is that the case for you and
That,
and
the,
your environment, your culture?
that is the idea. The idea is when a man dies, the children and the wife are given to his brother
Mm-hmm.
to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
But you and I understand that in this modern world where people are struggling to get money to take care of their children and their needs, adding additional burden on them becomes a problem. So even by custom, where children are given to their uncles to take care of them, they don't get the kind of support, the kind of love they need from their real father. It becomes a problem.
Really?
I would say it's just a formality
Okay.
that, oh, you've been given to your father's brother to take care of you, but they will not provide all your needs. You only have about 1% who will take these children as their own and do what they do for their children the same manner for those kids they are giving to them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit formality, but the real situation is different. You don't get that kind of fatherly love, support that a child needs from the father.
If you were to, if a man is interested in, let's say overall he's interested in polygamy, and yet he doesn't have any wives. He wants to take the first wife. He wants to do so with it being understood that he would plan to take a second wife. How does he do that?
When a man wants to take a second wife,
How does he have what conversation does he have with the first wife in order to set the stage for a successful second wife? How does a man and a woman, the first wife, get together? What conversation do they need to have in order to be successful in bringing in a second wife?
I think in these modern times, it has become very difficult for women to accept second wives,
Mm-hmm.
basically because of what they are learning in schools and what they see on social media and what they get from the Western world. They now believe that once they are married to a man, they want to keep that man alone. They don't want to share. So it becomes very difficult these days for a man to discuss with the wife that I want to take a second wife. Usually what they do is they do that at the blind side of the first wife before the first wife will get to know. It's only few men who maybe for special reasons their wives might accept, but even that one is a bit dicey. I know in certain parts of in Africa, like Nigeria and other countries, they don't have issues with sharing wives because they understand it's their custom. So if their husbands want to take a second wife, they are able to tell them, I'm getting a second wife. And they live in harmony. It's only few that have issues, rivalry issues and other things. But I know in Nigeria, they accept the fact that, and you know, Nigeria, majority are most Muslims.
Okay.
And yeah, they understand that it's part of their culture. But in Ghana, it's a very big difficult for you to call your wife, to tell your wife that I want to marry a second wife. She wouldn't be happy, she would not support it. But the men still go ahead. What they do, the worst thing they will tell you is they've impregnated another woman, so they need to go and marry that woman in addition. And you don't have an option. Ghana, when you call your wife and tell her you want to go and marry a second woman, I think she will not be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Even if the man still decides and go ahead to do it, the woman will see the other woman as a rival, and they will not be good and nice to each other like in any other African countries. So usually what the man does is they rather get the second woman impregnated And they use that as an excuse to get married to a second wife.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
yeah, because no woman will accept that, bring a second wife and let's live together.
And the second wife, the first wife usually stays, or sometimes she goes, sometimes she stays. What happens then?
Usually, some women will stay and they will tell you, you don't have to bring the woman to this house. Maybe you have to rent and get a woman a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Others will get angry and they will leave the marriage and go and stay with their parents or live somewhere else and forget about the marriage because they are not happy.
Okay.
So even though we accept the polygamy in our traditional setting, these days, due to modernization, things are changing. And a lot of women are not ready to share their husbands with other women.
Now, when a woman leaves and goes back to her family, her parents, what typically happens with the children?
Usually, it depends on the ages of the children. In Ghana, by law, there are certain age when a child is not up to, a man cannot take the children from the wife. They have to reach certain age before he can do that. So usually, if you separate, the children might be with the wife and you might be taking care of them, providing their needs. If you want to see them, you can visit them, they can come for holidays and what have you. But unless there are circumstances that the man believes that wherever the woman is going to stay is going to affect the children's welfare. Maybe the environment is not good. Those ones, he can go to court and explain that, look, they can go and look at where the woman is staying. I don't want my children to go there. With that one, the court can give custody to the man to take care of the children. But
What are those ages?
I think when it comes to girls, it should be 12 years.
Okay.
The girl child should be 12 years and above before the man can decide to take her away. But when it comes to male children, I don't think there are any issues because it is believed that a man cannot take care of a girl child like the woman can, unless maybe the man has the mother there who is going to say that I'm going to take care of the child. And so it depends on how the situation will be. Then custody can be given to the man to take care of the kids.
Now, you also, okay, we went from having the conversation with the first wife to, instead of having a conversation, letting her know that another woman's impregnated. Does that now, in America, a woman would be upset and a man would be, well, we're talking about pregnancy. So in America, a woman would be upset if she found out her husband, most of the time, was having sex with another woman. But you're saying, I get the impression that Ghanaian women wouldn't necessarily be upset because the man is having sex with another woman, but would be upset if he wanted to take another wife. Is there, I mean, correct me where I need to be corrected. Help me get that right.
A Ghanaian woman will not be happy to know that her husband is sleeping with another woman.
Okay. And
Will
is that
not.
across the board, or, I mean, women in different regions, or women in the city, or women in the village? Is there any nuance to that?
It cuts across. It cuts across. You see, but there are certain tribes. There are certain tribes where, for example, in the northern part of the country, because of their tradition, is the man who dominates. So if the man says, I want to marry this woman, the wife cannot say anything. You just have to accept it.
Mm-hmm.
So in the northern part of Ghana, for example, that is where children are even given into marriage when they are very young before they grow. And this is some of the things that most NGOs and human rights organizations are trying to um, find ways and means to stop them from doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has reduced drastically because I know in those days, children like 12 years, 13, 14 years will be given to men to marry in those parts of the country. So in such communities, women respect their husbands, and whatever decision the man takes, they don't have a say. When you go to the northern part of Ghana,
Mm-hmm.
this is where when men are sitting and talking, a woman cannot sit in their mix and even contribute.
Okay.
They always be in the backyard with the children, and their views are not listened to. So in that kind of community, it is very easy for the man to go in and bring another wife, and the woman has nothing to say. And you cannot even run away from the marriage because their tradition is a bit different from we are the southern part of the country. So that is what it is. But when you come to the southern part and the middle belt of the country, it's very difficult for the man to open up to the wife that he wants to take, or I'm dating another woman. You do that secretly.
Okay.
Men usually do that secretly for the woman not to see. The only way it will come out is when maybe there is pregnancy, and you cannot hide it because pregnancy and there is a child, you can't hide it forever. It
Mm-hmm.
will definitely, that is the only way they can say, yes, yeah, I've done it and there's nothing I can do. So I need to get the woman also to become my wife or something. So this is how it works.
Men are, you mentioned this, men are expected to be able to take care of however many wives they have, and certainly their children. What, how are men looked at that are doing a poor job taking care of their families, their wives and their children?
Yeah. So it means you lose your respect in society
Mm.
because whatever you do, everybody is looking at you.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, in Africa, if you have two wives or three wives and you have more children and you take all of them to school and they all complete and they are working and they are well doing and they are making it in life, people respect you. They
Mm.
give you honor. Oh, these are children from this man. He has taken good care of them and they are all doing well.
Mm-hmm.
The same manner, if you're unable to take care of the children, it becomes a disgrace for you, the man. You will not be respected in society. Even when people are speaking, you cannot speak because when you raise your voice, they will look at you and who is this man? And here, they will insult you.
Really?
Oh,
Wow.
this, you are a responsible man, and we are talking. Who asked you to come and interfere in the talking? When men are, when responsible, yes, they will tell you. When responsible men are talking, and you two, what are you doing here? So it's a disgrace. So we have certain men in society who have given birth with different women,
Mm-hmm.
maybe four women, maybe one children with different, and they are unable to take care of them. And it's the women who are catering for the children. So even the kids do not respect their father. They don't give them respect because they know their fathers are not taking care of them.
Wow.
So these are some of the disadvantages of polygamy here because, yes, if you take more wives and you're unable to take care of them, the wives will suffer, the children are going to suffer because you cannot feed them well, you cannot clothe them well, you can't take them to school to have the kind of education they want, to end up on the streets like we see street children.
Yes.
When you come to Ghana, you see some of them selling by the roadside, some of them moving around because of this kind of irresponsible men who impregnate women and they don't take care of them. So these are some of the disadvantages that we have. But in all, if polygamy is going to be legalized, I think it's rather going to help because there should be laws that will govern it. There should be laws that is going to tell you that if you want to take a second wife, this is the yardstick we are going to use to measure you. You should do A, B, C, D. If you're unable to do it, it's against the law and you'll be punished. I think with that, men who think they don't have the capacity to take care of two wives and children will stick to one. But because it is not legalized and it is illegal to have more than a wife, usually the men, even who go to do this Christian wedding and sign the court, and they are binded by the law that when you take another wife is bigamy and it's an offense that can land you in prison. They will just go and sleep with somebody and have sex and just have children with them without marrying them. They can go to the traditional family house and go and do the traditional marriage. And because that traditional marriage is not legalized in terms of being signed in the court to be binding, you cannot charge these men for the offense of bigamy. Because the law is only saying that you cannot marry a second wife whilst you are married. In the law,
impressed and amazed at the concept that responsible men will not allow irresponsible men to sit amongst them and talk. That's impressive.
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it.
You see, in this part of the world, they will insult you. Even when you are passing, somebody can just pass a comment. Oh, look at him. This is responsible man. Look at, it's you won't feel comfortable among people in society. So it's a bit worrying if you are that kind of person and you are irresponsible and you find yourself living in the indigenous society. Unless maybe you are living in an estate where you are living there alone and nobody is there to see what you are doing, then that one you are. But in our traditional setting where everybody knows everyone, my door is my behind my door is another person's door. Behind my house, and we know ourselves. We hear when you are quarreling. Maybe your wife is insulting you in your house because you've not given them money to feed the children. He'll be insulting you, and people will be hearing what is going on. So
that's amazing. That's beautiful. I would love to see more of that here in the United States, where where we overtly hold men responsible for irresponsibility, for not taking care of their children, because there are countless numbers of children who do not know who their father is, and that's inexcusable. Absolutely. What do you see as the success? What are some keys to success amongst men, well, from men in their dealings with their wives who are in a polygamous relationship? And what are some keys to success for the women as they deal with one another to a successful polygamous relationship?
Come again.
If a man wants to have a successful polygamous relationship, what does he need to do a good job of?
First of all, I think in Ghana, if you are not wealthy and you don't have good earning, you don't have money, it will be very difficult for you to have a successful polygamous marriage because you cannot provide everything for them. It's a fact.
Okay.
Gone are the days where we were doing farming and fishing as our ends meet. These days, things have changed. In those days, because it's farming, you get your food, everything from the farm. So basically, you don't need money to buy food. and certain foodstuffs to feed your family, because everything is catered for by the farm. In this modern world we are living, a lot of people are not doing farming any longer. People are now working in offices. They go to work in the morning and come back at night, and they earn salary every month, which even the salary is not enough to cater for you yourself alone.
Yeah.
Not alone add a wife and 2 children, and you want another wife in addition, 2 wives and 4 kids or 6 kids. It's going to put a lot of burden on you, the man. So it's about having the capacity. I know people who have about 3, 4 wives, even 5 wives in Ghana, but they are rich. They marry you, they buy you a house, buy you a car, set up a business for you. You live your life. He's also living somewhere. The only thing they don't enjoy is having access every day to the men. Because the man will not be there for you every day, because he might be seeing another wife, and sometimes he wants to be alone in his house. So some of these women sometimes become very lonely. And these are the reason why some of them also start sneaking out and seeing other men apart from their husbands. So, polygamy, it's something that there are positives and there are negatives.
Yes.
But we need to look at it very well. That's why I was saying that if it is something that is legalized, there will be rules and regulations governing it. So that when one finds himself that I am not capable, I don't fit in that bracket to get married to a second wife, you're not there. But because it is not legal, and in this part of the world, customarily, you can have as many wives. People take advantage. Even the laws in Ghana, the interstate succession law, makes provision for men who dies without will, written will. When it comes to sharing of their properties, other spouses are recognized by law.
Okay.
Yeah, the law says spouses and children. So how many spouses? If the law is asking that if you have a second wife, you should also benefit from the man's property.
Yes.
It means by law, it accepts polygamy. By law, it accepts it.
What are some of the keys to success for the women? If a woman wants to create a harmonious environment for her children and her husband's other wife's children, what's important for her to do?
There are some families who are able to bring harmony among the children and the wives, provided the man plays his role well as a man in the family. As the head of family, you should be able to ensure that you have children from different women, but the children should see themselves as one family.
Yes.
It depends on how you train them and how you treat them. But if you don't give them that kind of harmonious lifestyle, they'll grow up and see other siblings as their enemies. And this is a very big task for men who want to be in polygamous marriages to ensure they do. There are certain families when men are married to several wives, you will not see the difference when it comes to the children.
Yes.
The children live together under one roof. They share everything together. They live happily. But the moment wives also try to take children away from the men, that is where the problem starts. Because they will start polluting the children. You see, your daddy is doing this for this, he's not doing for us, and blah, blah, blah. Then they start complaining. And the moment they start complaining, it also becomes a problem for the whole family.
The entire family, yes.
In my family, my grandfather, if I can remember, my grandfather gave birth with about 5 women, 5 to 6 women. My great-grandfather also the same. My great-great-grandfather also married about 3 wives. And in those days, they lived happily. You can go and sleep anywhere, any woman's room. You can eat everywhere. You won't see the difference, whether this is this woman's child or this is another woman's child. They all live together. But like I'm saying, in these modern times, things have changed. And the fact that women are now going to school a lot, they are reading. We have most of women being career women nowadays, working in the banking sector. Some are lawyers, some are managers, some are CEOs. So such women, there is no way they will accept a second wife in their marriage. More especially when they are earning their own salary, they are taking care of themselves, they don't depend on their husbands. And even most women, some of them, they earn more than their husbands do. So in such marriages, it will be very difficult for a man to tell the wife, I'm going in for a second wife. It only happens where the men are those dominating. They are the ones providing everything. Maybe the wife is a housewife. She's not working. She's at home. Is the man who take care of everything. So if a man says, I'm the man of the house and I'm bringing a second wife, you can't complain. Because at the end of the day, if you say you can't, you have to work out and go. And when you go, the other woman will come and benefit. So the best thing is for you to keep quiet. Yes. And you see, it's giving a lot of them, what word should I use? Some of them are having some emotional feelings because depression and all these things sets in.
Okay.
Because you are in something, you are not happy.
You're not happy.
But you don't have an option. So it's like, you are just quiet. Even though you are dying, you don't have anywhere to go. So you just stay there and suffer. So these are some of the challenges we also have when it comes to polygamy.
Now, have you seen relationships, current day relationships, where the women are happy? I mean, because that's what you just said it's a big deal. I mean, to have women who are depressed, we want our women to flourish. We want our women to be well. We want them to be happy. We want them to be whole. It's not okay for them to be depressed and in a situation that they just can't get out of, so they have to stay. That's not healthy for anyone. It's not healthy for the women. It's not healthy for the men. It's not healthy for the children. So are there situations where everyone is actually happy in modern day?
That is where the man is doing exceptional well.
Okay.
Because, for example, if a man is providing all your needs, this is funny, but let me say, these days, a lot of women in these modern times are materialistic.
Yes.
Yeah, they are looking out for where there is wealth. They are looking out for a man who can buy them cars, a man who can give them money anytime they want. So we have that kind of women in society.
Yes.
Who do not care. Even if the man is married to 20 women, she doesn't care. All she needs is the man is providing for her.
Yes. Understood.
Yeah. That's the kind of women we have, especially these young ones coming. You see a 25-year-old woman who is dating a 60-year-old man, or even 65, 70-year-old man, just because the man is providing for. And she knows that maybe even the man she's dating or going out with has children who are even older than her. She knows the man have wife in the house.
Yes.
Has wife, but she's not bothered just because the man is providing for. So I think poverty also is affecting how some of the women are behaving in our modern society. Because the things they want, they don't get it. They are working. Some of them are working, some are not working, and they still want to survive. So where they find themselves, they just manage. They don't care. They are suffering, but they won't say it. You see a woman driving in a nice car, going up and down, but she's not happy. But when you see her, you hey, oh, this woman, she's living a good life. But when she goes home, she's lonely. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to share their problems with, and it becomes an issue for a lot of them.
Indeed. And we haven't talked about the concept of cheating, which is and it's the American.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about the concept of cheating. And in the United States, cheating is more so the common form of polygamy that what people call cheating is the common form of polygamy that exists, where how does, I mean, of course that happens in Ghana. Of course, there are men who have other women in Ghana who they're not married to. How is there a conversation around that? And what are the thoughts around that? How does that fit into the culture?
Cheating.
What people call cheating, yes.
Cheating has become a norm in Ghana. Can you hear me?
Absolutely.
Hello?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. Cheating has now become a norm in Ghana, where you see married men cheating around. Even when we go to, we know our pastors who preach against cheating and polygamy. Some of them are the same people who behind the scenes are cheating behind their wives. It is reality.
And is it looked down upon, or is it just looked as, men being men?
Yeah, sometimes the question we ask is, if you say you're a man of God, why are you doing that? They'll tell you they are humans. They also have feelings. So sometimes certain things come and they can't reject it. So it is something that has become part of it. Is becoming a norm. Cheating has become a norm that people feel comfortable to even talk about their fiancé, even though they are married. When they are going out with their friends, they take their other girlfriends to programs, to events, and leave their wives at home. They travel with them on weekends. It has become a norm. And some of the wives, they get to know that this is what their husbands are doing. But what can they do? This part of the world, it's difficult for people to go to the law court. They see it to be a bit burden and time consuming. And so in America, like for instance, where people can go to court and sue their wives, sue their husbands, sue their mothers, in this part of the world, you can't do it, because the moment you go to do that, your family and his family members will start, wow, how come you send this thing to court without reporting to the family for us to resolve it first?
Wow.
So, we see the family system as the first point of call when it comes to disputes and other So if you bypass them, your head of family, you bypass and you send matters to the police or to the court, it'll end up saying you don't respect them. And at the end of the day, if something happened, they will just say, you said you want to. So they will tag you. And the moment they tag you, it means that they are severing you from the family. It's like they don't want to associate with you again because you have disrespected them. So in this part of the world, it is very difficult. Mm-hmm. Even, for example, in the church, where maybe a young pastor might have done something wrong to you, a lady, and you go straight to report to the police or something. The pastor will feel offended because he thinks he should be the first person you should report the matter to for him to address it.
That is a very powerful distinction. That's yeah. I'm glad we touched on that. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
I presume you we haven't, I don't think we've discussed this, but I presume you have daughters and sons. And if your daughter came to you, well, if a man comes to you and wants to make your daughter a second wife, how will you evaluate him? Or will you, or will it be your brother who evaluates him? How will that man be evaluated? And if your son wants to take a wife or a second wife, how will you counsel him? So let's start with the daughter. Your daughter comes to you, or someone comes to you and wants to bring your daughter into your family. Presuming you have a daughter, I need you to confirm that. How will you evaluate him and say it's okay?
Yeah, I have a daughter and a son. But first of all, let me touch on our traditional marriages from the onset.
All right.
At first, a man will be there, then the parents will bring a woman to show to him that we want you to marry this woman.
The man's parents. The man's parents will come.
Yes, without you knowing the lady. They will tell you, oh, this is our friends, or they can mention, oh, this man, you know him, the former, that's the daughter. She's a very good girl, and we want you to marry her.
So you as the father and your wife will come to a man's parents, another man's parents, and say, we have a daughter that we want you to marry.
Of course.
Okay.
The other way around too is some families can arrange that when your daughter grows, we want our son to marry her. So the moment you grow, they'll just bring the woman and say, this is the woman we want you to marry. And the man will not say anything, then they will do the marriage. And in Africa, it is the family who does marriages.
All right.
It is not the couple.
All right.
So date, before you go to the court to sign your marriage, they will first ask you, have you done the traditional marriage? And the traditional marriage is between the man's family and the woman's family. They make marriages.
Okay.
So gone are those days where you'll be there, then as a woman, your father will call you, then you go there, there's a man sitting there, and your parents will tell you, this man has come to ask your hand in marriage. Where you, the woman, you don't even know the man. You've not seen him before. Mm-hmm. So marriages were done without love. Marriages were being done without love. The reason why I'm saying without love is I've not seen the woman that I love and I've proposed to her.
Yes.
But the families would just arrange for the marriage for us. And they lived. Mm-hmm. If we compare those days to this time, those days the marriages were rather doing well than this modern era, where we see a woman on the streets and we propose, we get engaged, and we get married. Mm-hmm. It doesn't reach 2 years, there are divorces, separations, all over, everywhere. So our old men keep telling us that their style of marriage was better than ours. Because the man's family will go and investigate about the woman's family. And the woman's family too will come and investigate about the man's family, their background. They will check whether they have some bad characters in their family before they allow you to marry.
Okay.
Now it is not like that.
Mm-hmm.
I meet you, you meet me, we fall in love, then here we go, then we get married. So if I find myself in a situation now that things have changed, and your daughter comes to you, and she tells you, look, I've seen a man I want to marry. The man has a wife already, but I still want to marry him. The first question I'm going to ask her is, are you truly in love with the man? Are you ready to take care of his children, the other kids that are there already, like your own? Because if you go into a marriage as a second wife and you don't love the children as much as you should, you start having problems with the man. Mm-hmm. Not even the first wife, even the man, because the man will be expecting that you should be treating his children the same way you treat yours. Mm-hmm. So you need to find out whether your daughter is capable of doing that, accepting the fact that there are children in the marriage already, there is a wife there already, and usually the men will expect that you should respect their first wives. If you think you'll be okay, it is your life. Now they say freedom, you have your own freedom of rights. So whoever you feel is okay and you want to spend your life with, I will allow you to go. Two, if you are my son, I will look at you, because if you don't have the capacity to take a second wife, I should be able to tell you, my son, that, my son, I won't advise you to go in for a second wife. Because if your son has the capacity as a father, you should know. If your son can take care of a second wife, you should know. So if you see that your son does not have that muscle to have a second wife, then you should advise him not to. And if he refuses to listen to you and he goes ahead, you just have to pray for the best for him.
Understood. Understood.
Because you can't force him.
And if you're, are there situations where the daughter is upset with her parents because the parents won't sanction them moving forward, or maybe the daughter's upset with the father? Does that happen?
You say where there's a situation, the woman will be upset with the, yes.
With
you
the
see,
parents because they're not.
I have a large family here in Ghana. And fortunately, I am part of the elders of the family. Mm-hmm. When it comes to issues of marriage matters and all those things, I sit in those meetings.
Okay.
And yeah, so in terms of arbitration, all those things, I've been part of. So I have seen a lot. I've seen a lot where women, daughters come and they want to marry a particular man and their fathers are not approving of it. There are reasons and a whole lot. There are times we have men from our family who wants to marry other women when they have already another wife, and the wife, for example, he has given birth with a woman, he hasn't married that woman, and now he's going in for another woman to marry that woman. In that cases, we usually advise that since you have a first wife, you've not done the traditional marriage, you've not done anything, it will be unfair on your part to go and do a second marriage whilst the first one has not been married.
All right.
Sometimes they'll give you reasons why they don't want to marry that woman and they don't want to. And at the end of the day, the family can take a stand, but when it gets to certain conditions, we have to let them go.
Mhm.
If they still insist, you need to allow them to go ahead.
And make their mistakes or make it
They
right,
make
you
their
know.
mistakes so that when they go and the consequences happen, they will come back. Then you refer them. So there are instances where families sometimes are not happy with the kind of marriages their children wants to enter. And they will bring the matter to the family heads to sit and call the children, talk to them, give them the reasons. But when they insist that they still want to go, we allow them to go into those marriages.
Okay.
Likewise, separation, divorce. In Ghana, before you have divorce, you need to do the divorce from the traditional marriage first before you can go to the court. So when you go to the court, they will ask you, have you done this traditional separation before coming? Before they will allow you to get divorced.
And
And we believe, for example, in my family, we don't believe in divorces unless there are extreme cases. We
what are
believe
some
that
extreme cases? What would an extreme case look like? Something like what?
recently the extreme case that we sat on was where the man came to marry an family daughter, and he traveled overseas. He's been there for over 10 years.
Wow.
He's not minding the woman again and the whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the woman is fed up and wants to move on with life.
Mm-hmm.
And they are also not willing to do anything. So we have to call the family and tell them, with this kind of marriage, we ourselves are we put a drink on it to tell them we are nullifying the marriage and we'll return all customary items they bought for the marriage, the dowries and all those things.
Mm-hmm.
We give it back to them. Then the marriage is cancelled. So these are some of the extreme cases,
Okay.
or where the man is maltreating the woman. There are
Mis
some men who,
mistreating her.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they beat their wives, they don't take care of them, they don't mind them. Even with that one, we don't just allow them to divorce. We keep canceling them. We will cancel them to see whether it will work. We give them conditions, we give them time. So if we give them months and still there are issues, then we allow them to get divorced.
What is the tell us about the council that you're a member of? Just how does a council of that nature come to be? Um, it's a beautiful concept that we do not have here in the States. I'm all ears.
You see, in Ghana, everybody comes from a family, and the family has a family head, which is backed by the laws of this country.
Mm-hmm.
And there are laws that guides how family heads are chosen. So these family heads are those who are in charge of all family members. They're good. The same way when you are getting married, it is the family who goes to marry the woman for you.
Okay.
They will go, the men, the women, usually it's the women who go, they will carry all the dowries and they will go to the woman's family, go and perform their marriage, and they'll bring the wife and give it to you.
When
Then,
oh please go on.
the same manner, when you die, in Ghana, when you die, no matter who you are, the dead body becomes the family's property. You, the son or the daughter, cannot claim ownership that this is our father. So we want to bury him in the way we want. We are taking him away.
Mm-hmm.
When they go to court, the family goes to court, they can put injunction on the corpse because that is what the law says. When you die, you become the family property. So it is the family who will sit with the children to arrange for the burial ceremony and everything of the dead person. So apparently in Ghana, the family plays a major role in all aspects of life when it comes to we living, dying, giving birth, marriage, and all those things. So the family is very, very key when it comes to decision making.
This
I hope
is,
I've answered your question.
you have, I mean, there's so many questions to answer, and some of it will be answered once one of us, me or a listener, decides to investigate further or immerse ourselves in the culture as we come to Ghana, as we work with Ghanaian, as Ghanaians, as we just enjoy the richness of our lineage. And so there's all of the questions can't be answered. I get it.
Yeah,
However, this has been a tremendous conversation. I value this has been it's amazing. It's amazing and it's very appreciated. I want to thank you so much.